Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, we're going to be talking about a crypto I believe has 50 to 100x potential going over this cycle, and one that's sitting at the cycle lows about to start a brand new bull market. The founder of this project was the same person who created ERC20 tokens and wrote the standard for them, and that's what propelled so much adoption inside of the market. The same person has launched his own blockchain, and this thing aims to solve many of the issues plaguing Ethereum, which is why today we're going to break it down, explain exactly what the charts are telling us, and then talk a little bit about the finer details on why I believe this will see so much adoption long term. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, so what we're talking about today is actually going to be LUKSO. Now LUKSO is a project I've actually been holding since all the way back in the last cycle, going back at $1 when my group was first notified of it, and then we actually started accumulating more back down in here at these cycle lows. Now I'm looking at LUKSO, it's getting ready to take off. We got to keep in mind that this is actually the old chart and they have migrated, they've officially launched their own blockchain. And to understand a little bit more about what LUKSO is, it's a layer 1 proof of stake blockchain, and more or less to give you guys an idea and background of what it is, the same person that created the standard for ERC20 tokens alongside the founder of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, he decided to leave the Ethereum Foundation and he went and started his own project, which is actually LUKSO. Now this aims to tackle many of the issues plaguing Ethereum, mainly centered around the fact that Ethereum can't do as many things, doesn't have quite as much accessibility, and so this one allows you to create kind of your own blockchain profile. And from that blockchain profile, you can kind of do all of the things on Ethereum just from one unified place. You can make NFTs, you can issue smart contracts, you can manipulate smart contracts once they've already finalized, and it gives you a lot more tools to be able to use the blockchain like never before. Whenever you use Ethereum, you just basically have an address, and then you have to interact with other protocols built on Ethereum to be able to do some of these same things. Imagine being able to have all of that inside of one centralized profile, but then having, that profile being safe and secure on the blockchain as well. It's the same person that really created the boom in crypto, you should say, around ERC20 tokens, and I got a lot of confidence that they're going to be able to do a lot with this. If you guys do want to learn a little bit more about the tokenomics, I'm going to jump into that at a later point in this video, but for the short term I wanted to talk a little bit about the chart, because this is really what I think is telling us the early signs that adoption is coming for sure. Now when we're looking at this chart, if we come out and look at it on a log scale, what we're more or less going to be looking at is this long-term impulse, and that was the last cycle. All we really have is 5 waves up, and that was our first impulse to begin the new trend. And then in our bear market, we saw our first ABC correction. So when we're looking at this from a long-term basis and we zoom out, this entire first cycle was only a wave 1 impulse. We talk a lot about wave 1s because you don't really get a better buying opportunity than buying either at the beginning or at the end of that wave 2 correction. Because what comes next is oftentimes the biggest cycle of all. The most profitable one, the most money comes in, the most ROI is made, and that's the one that we're actually getting ready for in this next bull run. So remember guys, when I'm talking about Elliott wave theory, this is kind of what I'm referencing to. We're looking at a long-term cycle playing out. And all we've ever finished was this first cycle right here. We saw 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, followed by an ABC correction to finish off this wave 2. So we've only ever finished the first impulse of this new cycle, and we can see that here. 5 waves up, ABC correction, and we're just kind of trending sideways, accumulating before we take that next leg up. Now, we can see that that's pretty much right here before we get this next wave 3. And notice how wave 3 is the biggest. This is the most impulsive. Look how much bigger it is compared to that first cycle. That's the one we're getting ready for LUKSO right now. And I think that it's an important time as ever to be considering what this is doing, talking a little bit about those details so that we can understand the profit potential long term. Now, like I said, guys, these are their own layer 1. We've seen layer 1s blow up in years past. They've been my most profitable sort of investments, I guess you could say. Going back to the last cycle anyways, I bought Solana, I bought Cardano, I bought Phantom, I bought Terra Luna. There was a bunch of those that blew up in a big way, and they were all layer 1s, and I made a lot of profit trading those. Now, going into this cycle, I still think layer 1s are going to be hot. As long as Ethereum still is expensive and sucks, you got to expect that there's going to be money coming into these, regardless of what happens with Ethereum gaining adoption long term. This one is a new crypto I don't really hear many people talking about, but with the accessibility you gain by using their blockchain, to me, I don't really think you can go wrong holding this one as a long-term hold. unfold. So far, all we've really done is just started the first little stages of this new cycle. We were making this little uptrend, and I guess you could say this is our first cycle to begin this new bull run, right? And oftentimes you're going to see this. You make this uptrend, higher highs, higher lows, and then the price starts selling off. You end up capitulating right below that trend line, only to rebound and then start the next cycle back up. And that is where I believe we're headed next. Now, remember guys, when we're looking at this, this is only a one-wave impulse. So we're looking at this next wave 3 to be coming in here and having an absolutely massive move. One of my favorite setups, and well, probably the best setup you can get, is either buying at the very beginning, like we did down here at $1, or accumulating inside at the bottom of this wave 2 correction, awaiting a wave 3 impulse. Because like I said, that's the biggest one of the cycle. That's where the most money comes in. That's where the most profit is made. But we got to remember that all we're looking at right here is the all-time graph, and this is the old token, right? This is actually the new token over here on KuCoin. So when we're looking at this, this is still the same chart as just right down in here. It's just that, all of this is now gone. Most people don't even see that that's there. Now, with that being said, I think it's more of a good thing than a bad thing. Anytime you have a token that rebrands or relaunches, we generally see those new tokens do better because people don't look as much at the prior history and they don't feel as much like there's bag holders. They don't feel quite as sketched out about that. Now, with this new cycle, we don't have anything. So it's going to be pretty much sitting instantly into price discovery. That's going to give people a lot more confidence to want to FOMO buy. It attracts more people to want to buy in general. So that's kind of what I'm anticipating moving forward with this, at least in the short term. But the thing I'm always referencing to in the back of my head is the long-term graph, because I've been holding this since forever. This has always been the graph that I've been watching for, and I've been accumulating this one down in here because I know that this is about to go into a brand new cycle. So with it sitting at about $200 million in total market cap, like I said, 100x is going to be a little crazy. It would have to see a significant amount of adoption. If we see an institutional cycle, I don't see why it couldn't, because these guys are kind of attached more to the RWA inside of real world assets like fashion, designing, different things like that. And I think that that's ultimately going to see a lot of adoption long term. If these guys have a platform and a profile, I should say, where you have your own social media on the blockchain, where you have your own financing apps and banking apps that you can use, interact with different DeFi protocols on the blockchain, all from one place, I just don't see how that doesn't see a significant amount of appreciation long term. And that's what the chart's telling us. This is just a one-wave impulse. Like I stated, guys, it's the very beginning before a much, much, much bigger cycle comes in. And you could argue that with the launch of the new token, the tokenomics have actually just gotten better. Now, yeah, they did end up inflating the short-term circulating supply, but the total supply has now shrunk significantly. So I do believe that long-term that's going to be better. They have implemented somewhat of a burn mechanism. So long-term we would be looking at a potentially deflationary supply. And all of this stuff is going to be ending up being bullish for it long-term. For me, the tokenomics are solid. I do think they upgraded them. As far as the fully diluted valuation, all of that stuff dropped when they upgraded. So I do think big picture, their tokenomics have upgraded, and that's an important thing. The only difference is the short-term market cap has increased because of it, which it's sitting at 200 million. To have a 10x, you got to go to 2 billion. And so then to have a 100x, you got to go to 20 billion. 20 billion is pretty high, but I still think that that's doable. Like I said, guys, if we're given an entire bull run of institutional adoption and we see tons of money coming in here and we see real adoption taking place like we've never really seen, there could be a lot more money coming into the market than we've really ever thought possible. And I think that these are the type of blockchains that are setting themselves up to capture the majority of it. You can't really go wrong with the backing of, hey, I created the ERC20 standard and created all of this value inside of crypto today. Look at what we did for Ethereum because of me. And now I've done all of that and upgraded it inside of this new blockchain. I'm not sponsored by any means. I would love to be sponsored by LUKSO if I could, just throwing that out there. But like I say, guys, this isn't a sponsored video by any means. It's just a project I've personally been holding and invested in for a long time. Now, to wrap up this video, I did want to talk a little bit about the tokenomics, dive into some of the details with this so that you guys understand maybe a little bit more moving forward from here. Now, I found this really cool article from this guy, so I'll actually link it in the description if you want to go through and read it. We're going to talk a little bit about this, some of the things inside of it. So more or less what the ecosystem of LUKSO is designed for. It's designed to cater onboarding mainstream Web 2, social media, streaming, journalism, lifestyle, fashion content creators into Web 3. So you're looking at more of the mainstream world, kind of trying to actually bridge that gap. The problem that we have right now is the fact that you got to be a little bit more tech savvy to even use a lot of these protocols, even interact with any of the web wallets or some of the more basic things in crypto. So that's why I do think that this is a good setup. It does allow ease of access for these people with having their own blockchain profile. And then, to be able to bridge that gap to a lot of these markets that just simply aren't in crypto, I just think that there's a huge value proposition with all of these different sort of niches coming into crypto for the first time. Now, user onboarding, limited smart contract standards, network over occupancy, network fees, assets, wallets, difficult to manage, secure account, can't hold personal data or refer to static data sets, data within assets not verifiable. So we have a lot of different issues inside of Ethereum, and these are kind of the main issues that it aims to fix. And like I said, guys, having your own little profile that can actually interact with some of these dApps, if you're interacting with a bad protocol that's actually designed to inflict you and steal your money, then you can actually see that pop up. You could have notifications popping up of that. Not only that, but if you end up sending a transaction, or if you have certain data that you send out that ends up being wrong and you want to change that, like if you have a social media account, it's kind of hard to be able to do that type of stuff on current blockchains. So imagine if you posted something on your social media and you wanted to update it and change it somehow, but you can't. This allows you to actually go back and manipulate some of that data in the smart contracts. And so I think that the ease of access, like it stated, is much more significant than any of these other blockchains. And that's something that we could expect to see if they do end up getting a lot of mainstream adoption long term. To become a network validator, you have to actually stake 32 LYX inside of the network. So same as Ethereum, and they've basically kind of, forked Ethereum, I guess you could say, but it's still their own blockchain. Now, the next thing I really wanted to cover was the tokenomics, because I think that this is important. When we're looking at the tokenomics, the prior tokenomics had a much greater supply, but then the circulating supply was smaller, right? You were looking at like 100 million total supply, but then you were looking at like 15 million circulating. So it had like a fully diluted of 750 million versus the current market cap of like 100. Now what they ended up doing was cutting the supply from 100 million all the way down to 42 million, and the circulating supply is about 32 million. So we're looking at a little bit higher circulating supply, which did, in my opinion, bleed the price back down, because that was all implementing over in here. So I do think that that was negative for the short-term price, but long-term it will be better, big picture. I just see a significant amount of adoption long-term, and when we're looking at the potential for price to rise, just to the prior all-time high of the last cycle, you're looking at like a 5x. And like I stated, guys, this one's going into a much bigger impulse. A wave 3, it can't get any bigger. That's the biggest sort of cycle that you're going to find inside of the market. And this actually has a new token, right? So when we're looking at this, nobody else knows about that prior cycle for the most part. All the people that are going to be buying this are going to be focused mainly on what the chart looks like today. And we're currently sitting near those prior all-time highs. Anytime anybody sees this new token and they see the chart fresh and they see it starting to go up, it gives them a lot more confidence to want to jump into it. And so far, all we've really done is started that first stage up to those prior all-time highs. We could see a little bit of a correction back down in here. Maybe we come back down to like retest this support. But regardless, big picture, I think that this one's definitely going into new all-time highs, considering this chart right here is just right here, right? It's just the same exact setup. It's not changed at all. And we're still just sitting at these cycle lows, making this kind of rounded bottom formation. So when we're looking at this, I am expecting that we're going to be making that next leg up to the tops of this lower high, being our wave B, and that's going to be like $20 to like $24, $25. And then from there, we would also be flipping kind of these range highs that we found resistance at, being in April of this year. So that's kind of the next level of importance. Once we can flip above that $19 to $20 level, that's really where, in my opinion, we're going to be going into a new all-time high move. And I don't think we're far off, because like I said, guys, we've been inside of this bottom for a long time. This thing bottomed in June, and it's maintained higher highs and higher lows the entirety of that. So if we're looking at altcoins that are going to perform well long term, I like to look for the ones that did bottom in June, because Bitcoin made a lower low with the FTX collapse. So the weaker ones ended up following Bitcoin and making a lower low. ETH held support. So whatever made strength and held support like ETH, those are what I think are going to continue to see the most adoption long term as well. And this one did actually hold support after June and maintained these higher highs and higher lows. Regardless of the short-term sell-off below that trend line, it doesn't matter. That's typical inside of a short-term cycle, because we did the exact same thing over here. If we draw a trend line, the bottom of capitulation of our last cycle was once again when we broke below that main trend line of the other one. And that's something you're always going to see. So in the short term, this is just a mini cycle to begin this new uptrend. We did the exact same thing, and with us reclaiming it, I think that we're about to be starting that next leg up where we start really clearing into new highs of this cycle. So I wanted to cover this because, like I said, guys, I think that there's a lot of upside potential. I think they're solving a lot of issues that are currently inside of the blockchain economy, trying to bridge that gap to the real world. And I think that some of these projects that are able to do that are going to see some of the most adoption long term. We're waiting for a retail wave, and if this is the institutional cycle, We have institutions piling in like crazy, accumulating all the good projects. We also have retail diving into it. You got to expect that LUKSO's positioned very, very well to capitalize on a lot of that retail involvement. You know, it might be later in the cycle before this thing absolutely booms, but so far, the way that the chart looks, I honestly think it's about to start taking off relatively soon. With us sitting pretty much down here at the cycle lows, you're not going to really have a much better opportunity than getting in. And like I said, guys, we got the new token, everything's launched, better tokenomics, higher total market cap, but the fully diluted is also dropped. And so I think that big picture, it's better tokenomics with the overall deflationary mechanism that they've added. So I honestly think that this thing is going to end up seeing a lot more adoption. So with that being said, if you guys did find value in this, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. If you guys want to join the Discord server and see how I'm investing, LUKSO was a crypto we bought in the last cycle. It's one that we've been accumulating in this bottom. If you guys want to see which positions we took, where we bought it, how we've been accumulating it over this cycle and prior cycles, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. One-time payment, lifetime access to my group. It's a private group on Discord. Once you guys get access, you're just going to be able to see everything I'm doing with my portfolio, how I'm investing my money, anything that I'm taking, trades, whatever it is, NFTs, all of it's going to be posted inside of there. So if you want to access, if you do want access, links are in the description to sign up on my website. Thank you guys so much. And with that being said, I will catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.